Picard Season 3 only had one moment that felt like proper Star Trek, and it's thanks to Jonathan Frakes. For all the nostalgia and fan service Star Trek, Picard Season 3 served up, many fans walked away with mixed feelings. Yes, it brought back the beloved crew of the Next Generation, yes, it delivered emotional closure, and yes, it gave die-hard fans a final farewell tour with their favorite characters. But for all its blockbuster ambitions and cinematic flair, there was only one moment in the entire season that truly felt like proper Star Trek, and it came courtesy of none other than Jonathan Frakes, aka Commander William Riker himself. In a season filled with space battles, changeling infiltrations, and deep-cut lore, it wasn't a phaser fight or a resurrection twist that delivered that authentic Trek spark. It was a simple moment of character, contemplation, and camaraderie aboard the Titan A quiet conversation between Riker and Picard that captured the essence of what made Star Trek timeless. That moment wasn't just nostalgia. It was philosophy. It was humanity. It was Star Trek. Star Trek has always been about more than lasers and legacy. While Picard Season 3 leaned hard into rekindling the spirit of the Next Generation, it often veered into action-heavy territory that sometimes felt more like Star Wars or Battlestar Galactica than classic Trek. Starfleet ships collided, cloaking devices failed, and villains gave long monologues over galactic threats. The stakes were epic, but the tone often wasn't. In fact, what made Star Trek special from the beginning wasn't spectacle, but soul. From Captain Kirk's moral quandaries to Captain Sisko's wartime ethics and Captain Janeway's dilemmas in the Delta Quadrant, Star Trek has always been a canvas for exploring the human condition, not just the edge of space. At its core, Trek is about ideas, not explosions. And in the midst of Picard Season 3's frantic pace and mythology overload, only one scene stopped long enough to breathe and remind us what the show was really about. The moment, Riker's reflection on grief, family, and the universe, the moment arrives in Episode 4, No-Win Scenario. The Titan is trapped in a gravity well, and the crew faces what looks like certain death. In this pressure cooker scenario, Riker and Picard share a quiet moment in the ready room, reflecting not just on the mission, but on life, death, and legacy. Riker opens up about the pain of losing his son, Thad, a plot point introduced in earlier seasons. He talks about how the vastness of space, once comforting, now feels empty. He questions whether there's anything after death. He wonders whether he's become numb, even lost faith. And Picard, once again faced with mortality himself, listens, not as a legend or a hero, but as a friend. He admits his own regrets and fears. This scene is devoid of lasers, screaming villains, or warp cores about to breach. And yet, it's the most important moment in the entire season. It's honest. It's vulnerable. And it's deeply, unmistakably Star Trek. Jonathan Frakes directed the episode and delivered Star Trek soul. While Frakes' performance as Riker is undeniably powerful in that scene, his influence as director of No-Win Scenario is what truly brought it home. Frakes has directed some of the most beloved episodes of Star Trek across multiple series, and he's long understood the alchemy that makes Trek work, balancing sci-fi concepts with human emotion. By allowing that moment of quiet introspection between Riker and Picard to breathe, Frakes pushed back against the modern TV trend of relentless pace. He let the scene simmer. The lighting was soft. The dialogue was intimate. The camera didn't rush. There were no sweeping space shots, just two old friends, two great men, wondering aloud about life's biggest questions. It's a scene that John Roddenberry himself would have approved of. In fact, it's the kind of moment that would have been right at home in the Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, or even the original series, where characters didn't just save the galaxy, they explored what it meant to be alive. The rare case of Trek giving its characters time to mourn, modern Star Trek often struggles with pace. Serialized stories mean there's constant forward momentum, but that speed often comes at the cost of introspection. Frakes' Riker scene in Episode 4 defied that. Instead of pushing plot, it prioritized grief, philosophy, and connection. Riker wasn't a commander in that scene, he was a father, a husband, a human being. His existential reflections weren't just character development, they were commentary on the human experience. He wondered whether the universe was random or meaningful, whether pain had a purpose, whether there's something more beyond death. These are the big questions. And Star Trek has always been about asking them. Where other sci-fi franchises offer spectacle, Star Trek dares to sit with pain, doubt, and wonder. And Frakes knew that. He allowed Riker to be raw. He didn't tie up the grief in a neat bow or offer a technobabble solution. He just gave the character space to feel. Frakes has always been Trek's best ambassador behind the camera. This isn't the first time Jonathan Frakes has directed an episode that restored the show's heart. From TNG's The Offspring, where Data tries to raise a child, to Discovery's New Eden, Frakes has consistently gravitated toward episodes that showcase human drama over cosmic destruction. Even in a season of Picard designed to bring the Enterprise D crew back together, many episodes felt more like legacy sequels than thoughtful Trek. Frakes was the exception. His episodes felt anchored, not just in nostalgia, but in tone. He understood that fans didn't just want to see their favorite characters again, they wanted to feel what made those characters great to begin with. In no-win scenario, he gave us Riker and Picard at their most unguarded. Two men grappling with mortality, looking out into the stars not as conquerors, but as questioners. A legacy scene that could have fit in TNG. What's so striking about that moment is that it could have existed in the next generation without much change. Strip away the newer uniforms and Titan A's bridge, and that scene could have played out in 10 Forward or the Enterprise D ready room. The soul of it, the themes, the dialogue, the questions, were timeless. It's a reminder that the best Trek doesn't need flashy VFX or plot twists. It just needs a compelling conversation about ethics, life, or death. In a way, the scene is the spiritual successor to classics like The Inner Light or Family, episodes where the galaxy fades away and the human experience takes center stage. Why this moment outshined the action-packed finale? Sure, the Season 3 finale gave fans what they wanted. The Enterprise D in action, Data at the helm, the crew reunited, and a final showdown to save the Federation. But did it feel like Star Trek, or did it feel like an MCU finale dressed up in Starfleet colors? Compare that to the quiet power of Riker's confession. One made you cheer, the other made you think. And that's the difference. Riker's scene didn't just wrap a character arc. It encapsulated what Star Trek was always meant to be, a place where philosophy and friendship met at warp speed. Where even in the face of annihilation, there was time to talk, to mourn, to wonder. That scene, more than any other in Season 3, reminded fans why they fell in love with the franchise in the first place. Fans didn't just miss the crew, they missed the conversations. Part of the appeal of Season 3 was the return of the old gang. But it wasn't just the characters we missed. It was how they used to talk to each other. The debates in the observation lounge. The fireside chats in 10 Forward. The meditative monologues. These weren't just filler, they were the soul of the show. Riker and Picard's exchange in Episode 4 gave us that again. It let these two legends drop their titles and speak as flawed, vulnerable people. And Frakes, knowing the power of that kind of moment, made sure it hit. The quiet courage of slowing down. It takes courage in today's TV landscape to